Welcome to Hero Villains. Who do you think would win? Goro versus Bane. Primal strength against ruthless intelligence. Goro is the prince of the Shokan race, a notorious four-armed warrior with a centuries-long history of remaining undefeated in the Mortal Kombat tournaments. He possesses physical strength far beyond that of any human, capable of crushing opponents with his bare hands and delivering devastating attacks of pure destruction. His immense stamina and extraordinary durability make him nearly impossible to bring down in close combat. In addition, Goro has surprising speed for someone of his enormous size, turning him into a true war machine. Bane is one of Batman's most dangerous enemies, famous not only for his strength, but also for his formidable strategic intelligence. Thanks to the Venom compound, Bane can amplify his physical power to a superhuman level, enough to confront even the strongest opponents head-on. However, what truly makes him terrifying is his ability to calculate and exploit his opponent's weaknesses. Bane does not fight with muscle alone, but with his mind as well, turning every battle into a deadly game of chess. Before we dive deeper into the analysis, please hit the subscribe button and do not forget to turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thank you all so much. Goro was once the symbol of absolute power in the Mortal Kombat arena, a warrior who was nearly impossible to defeat. After defeating the great Kung Lao, he officially ascended to the throne with the title of Grand Champion, beginning an unmatched reign that lasted 500 years. Throughout that long period, Goro not only defended his title, but also became a strategic weapon that helped Shang Tsung move closer to his ambition of conquering Earthrealm under the command of Shao Kahn. His reputation spread like a storm, making any opponent tremble with fear. Yet every peak must eventually face its challenge. During one of his most important title defenses, Goro encountered Liu Kang, a warrior who possessed rare determination and composure. The confidence built over centuries of invincibility caused Goro to lower his guard, and that was the moment Liu Kang fully capitalized on to secure a turning point victory. This defeat not only ended Goro's glorious streak, but also led to his mysterious disappearance. No one truly knew what had happened. Some believed he had died, while others suggested that Goro had secretly withdrawn to his kingdom to recover and wait for the right moment. His absence created a power vacuum, and Kintaro emerged as his successor, continuing to serve under Khan in the events that followed. However, the legend of Goro never truly faded. After Shao Kahn fell, Goro once again emerged from the shadows during the events of Mortal Kombat 4. This return no longer carried the image of a warrior fighting solely for glory, but rather that of someone who had endured loss and begun to reflect on a greater responsibility. Although the desire for revenge against Liu Kang still burned within him, Goro gradually realized that the fate of the Shokan race was what mattered most. He chose to stand alongside his people, taking part in the brutal conflict against the Centaurian race, where honor and survival were placed above all else. As the war threatened to escalate, Kitana appeared as a light of reason. Through wisdom and decisiveness, she stepped in to mediate, opening the possibility of a ceasefire between the two races long consumed by hatred. However, that fragile moment was quickly shattered when Kung Lao appeared, carrying a challenge for the one who had once slain his ancestor. Their confrontation unfolded like a ritual of honor, where past and present collided violently. Kung Lao's strike left a deep scar across Goro's chest, a permanent mark of their ancestral feud. When Shinnok and his army were defeated, Edenia was freed, and the dawn of peace slowly began to emerge. At this turning point, Goro and the Shokan made a historic decision. They accepted an alliance with Edenia and agreed to sign a peace treaty with the Centaurians as the foundation for a new future. This was not only the end of a war, but also a milestone in Goro's growth, from a symbol of raw strength into the one carrying the fate of an entire race. Many years passed, and when new turmoil erupted during the era of Mortal Kombat Deadly Alliance, the alliance between Edenia and the Shokan launched an assault against the weakening forces of Shao Kahn. The battle was fiercer than ever, as both sides poured all of their strength into a confrontation of life and death. Amid the smoke and the thunderous roar of the battlefield, Goro fought as the final symbol of Shokan pride, but the exhaustion from the prolonged conflict left him at a disadvantage. In that vulnerable moment, noob Saibot suddenly appeared from behind and delivered a ruthless strike that brought Goro down in agony. The wound was so severe that everyone believed the Shokan prince had perished. Kitana, with the deepest respect, held a solemn royal funeral to bid farewell to the warrior who had once stood at the peak of power. An atmosphere of grief spread over everything, as those who had once fought beside him bowed their heads before a legend that seemed to have finally come to an end. However, the truth took a completely unexpected turn. Goro did not die. He was secretly revived by Shao Kahn himself, pulled back from the brink of death with a deeply tempting promise. Kahn vowed to restore the glory of the Shokan race and drive out the Centaurians in exchange for absolute loyalty. Faced with the opportunity to restore honor to his people, Goro made a shocking choice. He accepted the deal, but at the same time, orchestrated an elaborate deception. Goro placed his royal seal on the body of a disfigured Shokan warrior, leading Kitana and her army to believe that it was truly him. That misunderstanding completely concealed his return under Shao Kahn's command, opening a new and deeply conflicted chapter in the journey of this warrior. Not long afterward, Goro reappeared as a terrifying opponent in Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks, where he directly confronted Liu Kang and Kung Lao, bringing with him both immense power and secrets that had never been revealed. During the events of Mortal Kombat Armageddon, Goro once again stood at the forefront of major conflicts. At Shao Kahn's fortress, he blocked the path of Taven, who was pursuing Quan Chi with unshakable determination. Their clash was fierce, like two storms colliding within the confined space of the stronghold. Goro fought with all of his strength and the pride of a Shokan warrior, but Taven, with iron will and a clear purpose, ultimately claimed victory. Defeated, Goro did not completely fall, but instead left in a state of fury. Goro later returned to his familiar role from the earliest tournaments, as an irreplaceable symbol of primal strength. By the time of Mortal Kombat 10, he appeared as a special bonus for players who pre-ordered the game, further reinforcing his iconic status among fans. Even so, Goro retained his place as a formidable final challenge. In classic ladder mode, he stands as the obstacle players must overcome before facing Shinnok, a reminder that this legend had never truly disappeared. Yet in the end, Goro's fate closed in an eerily silent way in Mortal Kombat 11. There were no more thunderous roars or earth-shattering battles, only his body lying motionless in his familiar lair. I truly hope you will subscribe to the channel. It would help us tremendously. And you are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much. Now let us talk about Bane. Bane is not an ordinary criminal, but a being of ambition and power pushed to the absolute limit. With a razor-sharp intellect and physical abilities far beyond those of a normal human, he becomes even more terrifying when using Venom, the compound that can transform him into a machine of destruction. His goal does not stop at power alone, but extends to absolute domination, and Gotham City is the place he chose to establish his status, making him one of Batman's most dangerous enemies. Few people know that behind that monster lies a deeply tragic past. Bane's father was once a man who stood up against the oppression of the government, but his failure led to his imprisonment in the infamous Peña Dura prison. When his father escaped, the innocent son was forced to serve the sentence in his place. From that moment on, a child was thrown into a living hell, a place where there was no light of hope. For 17 years, he lived in a cold prison cell connected to the ocean, swallowed by isolation during the day, and forced to struggle against rising water every night just to stay alive. Every wave crashing against the stone walls was a reminder that the outside world had turned its back on him. Time did not wear Bane down. It forged him into something far more terrifying. He never stopped learning, sharpening his mind like a deadly weapon, while pushing his body to its highest possible limits. Pain and loneliness did not break him, but instead nurtured a simmering rage that grew stronger with every passing year. When the opportunity to escape finally came, the one who stepped out of that prison was no longer the child from years before, but an entity carrying iron will and an overwhelming desire for domination. Bane did not simply want to survive. He wanted to control the world that had once buried him. Step by step, he advanced on the path to power through both intelligence and violence, turning pain into motivation and his past into fuel for ambition. And from the darkness of that past, a ruthless legend was born, ready to crush anyone who stood in his way. Venom is not merely a performance-enhancing substance, but the key that unlocks the most terrifying version of Bane. With every injection, his body seems to erupt with energy, and his biological functions are pushed to limits that no ordinary human could ever reach. His strength, speed, and endurance all increase at once, while his senses become sharper and his recovery abilities improve significantly. However, this power does not come without a cost. Bane must maintain regular doses to preserve his peak condition, and with excessive use, he can fall into a state of lost control. What Venom grants him above all is horrifying physical strength. At maximum capacity, Bane can lift enormous boulders, tear through metal as if it were thin paper, and confront Killer Croc head-on without being overpowered. Even the pressure of tons of material is not enough to subdue him, as he has once freed himself from a block of ice weighing thousands of pounds using sheer force alone. In a state of fury, Bane can easily crush opponents with his bare hands, break spines, or finish an enemy with a single decisive movement. His overwhelming strength also allows him to perform powerful long jumps, launching himself across great distances with astonishing speed. Every step he takes carries the heavy sensation of an earthquake, making it extremely difficult for opponents to evade him. Bane's body, when enhanced by Venom, nearly becomes a living fortress. Attacks powerful enough to incapacitate an ordinary person fail to cause significant harm to him. Even after falling from great heights or enduring massive impacts, he can quickly rise again as if his body had never been damaged. His thick skin and dense musculature function like natural armor, making him nearly immune to many forms of bladed weapons. Even blades driven deep into his body are often not enough to make him bleed or weaken him. It is precisely this combination of extraordinary physicality and unbreakable will that turns Bane into a true nightmare. Under the effects of Venom, his body can absorb and withstand extremely powerful electrical currents reaching tens of thousands of volts without collapsing, and he can recover almost immediately afterward. Even more terrifying, he has once casually stopped the flaming sword of Azrael with his bare hand, as if the fire itself was not enough to touch him. Despite his massive frame, his speed is what truly surprises opponents. Batman himself has admitted that Bane is even faster than he is. Every movement is both powerful and decisive, combined with enhanced reflexes that allow him to react with astonishing precision. As long as Venom continues flowing through his body, Bane can maintain combat readiness for extended periods without weakening. There have been battles lasting for hours in which he remains standing like a tireless machine. It is this relentless endurance that gradually exhausts his opponents before they can find any opening to counterattack. Venom also turns Bane into a being with remarkable self-healing abilities. Severe injuries, from broken bones to blood loss or poisoning, can all be recovered from if he uses the proper dosage. However, the price is always present. When recovering from major damage, Bane is forced to inject extremely large amounts of venom, which in turn pushes him into a temporary state of lost control. His speed, durability, and recovery create a uniquely terrifying version of Bane. He is not merely strong, but a force that is incredibly difficult to defeat, an opponent who becomes more dangerous the longer the battle continues, as if every strike only brings him closer to the perfect state of a war machine. Bane has faced and defeated many formidable opponents, from Katana to members of the Batman family, as well as notorious prisoners within Peña Duro. His accomplishments range from crushing stone pillars with his bare hands, enduring attacks from superheroes, to planning the control of all of Gotham. Even without Venom, he is still capable of fighting Batman on equal terms, something very few adversaries can claim. The battle between Goro and Bane is not simply a physical confrontation, but a collision between two towering monsters. On one side stands a battlefield beast with overwhelming power, and on the other, a patient predator who calculates every move. Even before the fight begins, Bane has studied his opponent thoroughly. He fully understands the danger posed by Goro's four arms and fire-breathing ability, so he chooses an evasive fighting style while exploiting the surrounding environment. Once Venom is pumped into his body, his strength and speed surge dramatically. The objects around him become weapons, thrown with remarkable precision in an attempt to break Goro's solid footing. The atmosphere grows tense, like a wire on the verge of snapping, as both of them test each other's limits. It does not take long before Goro charges in like a raging storm. All four arms unleash a relentless barrage of punches, and the ground trembles beneath every heavy step. His stomps and shockwaves make the surrounding space seem as if it is shattering apart. Bane is forced to use every bit of his skill to evade, slipping past each attack and countering at vulnerable points such as joints and muscles. When flames erupt from Goro's mouth, the battlefield suddenly transforms into a blazing hell, forcing Bane to keep moving constantly just to survive. Goro then begins using his most dangerous techniques, combining dragon-like fire breath with crushing grabs designed to pulverize his opponent. With no other option left, Bane pushes Venom to its maximum level. His body swells and his strength rises to a terrifying degree. He looks for a way to close the distance, targeting Goro's arms or neck in order to deliver his signature finishing move. Even while injured, Goro remains standing firm thanks to the superior physical constitution of the Shokan race. Meanwhile, Bane begins to pay the price as Venom triggers intense waves of pain and starts to erode his control. As the battle drags on, the advantage gradually shifts toward Goro. With four arms and strength that does not diminish, he slowly traps his opponent, unleashing consecutive strikes that leave Bane with no room to counterattack. Flames are expelled at close range, turning every effort to resist into something meaningless. Although Bane possesses superior intelligence and strategy, his body cannot endure such overwhelming pressure forever. Bane is a dangerous warrior, but Goro is a force of nature. Goro wins approximately 7 to 8 times out of 10. I hope you enjoyed this battle. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section. Be sure to follow me if you enjoyed it. That is today's video. Thank you very much.